Hello, folks. Good morning, and thanks for joining us today. I see some familiar names in there. Bruce Lambert, I've seen you on the forum there. Anna Graham and Ernie. I know you guys have had some chance to use Bloodhound since you purchased it. And Phil Levy again. Thanks for. Oh, by the way, Phil, we did get your email. I'm not sure if you got a response there. We'll see if we can get to your questions. Uh, Later on today. What I've got here with us is Bob, and you're seeing Bob's screen right now. And Bob had a suggestion for us, so we're gonna try out some of his system ideas in just a moment. But just to let you guys know, today is a very informal, like unstructured workshop. So again, just feel free to just ask any questions away. If you've brought your microphones or you're dialing in from a phone, just let us know. And certainly if you prefer to ask your question using your microphone or your audio, we could do that as well. So I think maybe the best way to do this is you should all have, I believe, like a hand icon. Okay, if you look at your attendee screen, you have a little hand icon, and you can raise your hand at any time, and we can see that. And what we can do is when we see your hand being raised, we can either get you to ask your question either by typing it in or through the microphone. So we'll have to basically open up the microphone for you. So again, this is kind of our first try at this. So we're trying a couple new things here and seeing if this interactivity will work with many panelists and many attendees. So bear with us if we have a few hiccups. But right now, Zach, are you okay? Bob and Zach, are you guys kind of ready to, like, you can use his computer and his screen? Okay.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. How about we start off like this? Like maybe Bob, you could sort of describe maybe what you're trying to do with Bloodhound, and then we'll have Zach kind of take over, and he could try to implement maybe piece by piece, right? We'll slowly so that everybody can follow along. But maybe Bob, if we could start off with maybe some indicators that perhaps everyone else has as well, or you could point them to an easy way to download it. Then we could try to have people like try to follow along, kind of as we do this.
Hey, Bob, let me just ask you first. It looks like you're recording this. Bob, can you hear us?
Oh, hang on. He needs to be unmuted. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, test. All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
All right. You want me to turn the recording off?
Yeah, because we are recording this.
Okay.
So it'll just make your machine go faster.
All right.
Especially since you're presenting.
Yeah, it'll be a second here. Okay. Okay, I guess we're in business.
So yeah, we'll post the recording up. So, all right.
Good.
Okay, so Bob, go ahead. Ready?
All right.
We're ready to.
Let me start off with where I got the code first. The oscillator, the D9 particle oscillator version 2, was obtained off the Big Mike's forum in their elite section. And not to put in a commercial for Big Mike's tradingforum.com, but you can get a lot of really good code there for minimal price. I mean, there's an elite forum and a general forum. All code in general forum is free. Code in the elite section requires a one-time membership fee. When I joined, it was like $20, and now I think he's raised it to 25 or 30 or something. But it's like a lifetime membership thing. Although he does take donations. It's a very, very good service, and I mean, I found it to be the best one for Ninja Code and not so much TradeStation multi-charts or Sierra charts. That anyway, that's where I got it, in the elite section of Big Mike's Trading Forum. The bars are created by another elite member of Big Mike's Trading Forum. RJ is his moniker, but I don't know what his full name is. He runs a commercial site too, and Big Mike is generally frowns on commercial outfits in his forum, but he does allow those in who have something really worthwhile to present and contribute. So I'm going to type in, let's see, what I'll do is I'll move okay, yeah, put the window over to the, so you can see what I'm going to type in here. Okay, I put these down in advance. Now, there are, various bar types, and Renko bars have a lot of criticism for not being tradable. But RJ has coded a couple of bars, one of which is the hybrid Renko, and the other one is this channel trend, which do represent price quite well and are tradable. And they're available at this, let's see, this site I'm typing in here.
Yeah, Bob, just to kind of cut in, we're kind of getting off the subject, but
yeah,
the issue with these bars is you can't back test them because they don't have a true open. That's the real issue. They're tradable live, but you can't back test them.
Yes, that's very true. So, I mean, a lot of trading really should be done forward testing anyway, especially even Ninja, is not the best back tester. There are problems with, I mean, you can do replay, but even that isn't correct. If you download the replay data and then play back with your strategy, it's closer. It's better than any of the other retail things out there, but it still has problems. So I gave up back testing a long time ago.
So are you trying to bring up a notepad description of what your system is?
I can do that with, let's see, where is it here?
Do you think maybe what we could do?
Yeah, I sent you a couple of, here's the solver tab that, okay, oh, I've got it up here. Here it is here. Okay. That was the suggestion that I sent last night, using the oscillator crossover as an entry, and then using the indicator threshold as a filter so that it didn't trigger signals in the noise. And I've got the long side there, but I'm sure it's not right, and the short side I didn't mess with. And then the next step I was going to do was the, let's see here, was the, yeah.
For those who aren't familiar with it, can we just kind of start from the beginning and
sure.
and have you point out the conditions on your chart that you're looking for?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
That's probably a good idea. Okay.
And let's maximize your chart so it's displaying your whole screen.
All right. How's that?
Great. All right, perfect. Okay, yeah, so if you can just kind of start from the beginning, because no one else kind of knows what conditions you're looking to build in Bloodhound.
Yeah. All right. You want me to use the mouse and I can point it, move it around? Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's start here at about 1030, for example. And the oscillator is a complex oscillator. It's based on something called Bayesian statistics, which I know nothing about. I just know it's a complex probability analysis. And the guy who created this is no longer with Big Mike, so he's not available to answer any questions. So it takes someone who can read code. It is open code, so someone who's has a savvy that could figure it out. But anyway, what I wanted to do with Bloodhound was to create an entry when the blue line, which is the raw trend, crosses over 0. That would give me the long, or crosses under 0, it would give me the short. But you can see right here at about 1025, there are some false moves, like
Mm-hmm.
okay, you get a blue arrow, and then you get whipsawed. So I wanted to use the threshold solver to add a little threshold in here, like where this red line is set up to about 0.25. So it wouldn't trigger the long.
Gotcha.
Okay, so those are the two things: was a zero crossover and a threshold.
Okay, that's a perfect place to start. So we want to keep this kind of simple and basic and build our way up. So
all right. Let me add one more thing before we get carried away here. That was one idea. The other idea is that this oscillator has 2 overbought levels and 2 oversold levels. And the first idea I just described of using a threshold for an entry is sort of the same thing as bringing the first overbought level in closer so that you already have the zero cross and it takes a break above that threshold before it triggers along. Likewise, on the bottom side, bring the breakout level up closer to the zero so it can filter out the noise, and then use this extremely overbought and extremely oversold levels to exit the signal when it comes back underneath it.
okay,
So then, okay.
go ahead.
So that's basically two approaches. The first one actually is probably more useful and informative to users because it shows them how to create a crossover entry and then a filtered entry, whereas the second one's more of a breakout and exit routine.
Okay. Well, then, all right, mind if I take over here?
Oh, it's all yours.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so we'll first add this bloodhound onto your chart. And there it is.
New.
Yeah. I'm used to just being able to double click. All right, and we'll need to enter into setup mode. All right, so setup mode is where we initially name and save our template. All right, so yeah, Bob, go ahead and give it a name.
Okay, let's call this B9 POV 2 crossover entry. How's that?
Okay, great. And we'll just select it all. And we could manually save it, or if we just clicked OK, it would force us to, or it would ask us if we want to save. So, all right. Okay, so, and there's no secondary time frame involved, so if there was, this is where we would add a secondary time frame, like if you wanted to use minute bars, or a lot of people like to use a higher time frame, like a 15-minute bar for some kind of permissive or something. That's where we would, this is when we would have to add that secondary time frame. So, all right, so we have it named, and we can exit out of that. And now we can go to real-time mode, and we can start seeing the conditions on your chart as we build them. And so this is good for, Bob, do you mind if I exit you out of Camtasia? Because we can see the shaded area over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. How's that?
All right, great. Yep. Now the shading went away. All right, so the first condition we'll build is the crossover conditions here. So we'll put the crossover solver on. Did you have a question, Bob?
No, I was just going to say that it's there's several of these D9 oscillators in there. It'll be the first one you come to.
Okay. All right.
there.
Hey, Bob, if you could, Sally's looking for this D9 particle oscillator. I don't suppose um, if you knew the link to it, maybe you could just type it in for Sally there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sally, if you go to the download section on Big Mike's forum, and then go into the NinjaTrader section, then there's a search, there's a blue bar near the top, and there's a search pull-down menu, and you can just type in the D9 POV in that search, and it'll bring up that indicator for you. All right, so Bob, are these the values? Do you just accept the default values for the D9?
Yes, except for the period. Depending on the bar types that you're using, 14 gets you in a couple of bars after the swing point. 7 gets you virtually on the first bar after the swing high or swing low.
So do you want to change this to 7?
Yeah.
Okay. 7. All right. And you just leave the phase alone?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And changing any of the coloring and doesn't do anything for Bloodhound, because all that Bloodhound's interested in is just the plot values. So when you're setting up your indicators, really the only thing that's important is just setting your parameters, your period, phase, any kind of entry that affects the calculation of your indicator. Typically setting your lines up to match what you have on the chart won't affect Bloodhound. Yeah, see, all this is related to coloring or drawing symbols on your chart, so none of this will affect Bloodhound. So, all right, and so you look at the raw trend value. That's
right.
What the blue line.
Yes.
Okay.
That'll give you the earliest signal. There is another option further down where it's the raw trend up and raw trend down, which are the histogram bars, the green bars and the red bars. But I fiddled with that once and I didn't get anywhere. I lost the lost the Bloodhound.
Right. That's because with those, let me bring that back up here. So what that would do is that would give you the value of the raw trend, I believe. Oh, I'm just trying to get this over in the corner here. So we're looking at the raw trend up, and so if the raw trend up is the histogram here. You're only going to see values when it's above 0, and so when the indicator goes below 0, you're just going to get zero for this plot. It won't have a plot. And that's probably that would be why it wouldn't be working with Bloodhound, is your values disappear.
All right.
So, right, and so this raw trend is the blue line, so it has the positive values and the negative values all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I just want to add something to that, so there are quite a few indicators.
So what you could.
Sorry. Yeah, I just wanted to say that there are a few indicators that use this style of plotting where they basically have one of the plots is the true value of the indicator, and then you have maybe 2 or 3 supplementary plots that are just kind of like for visualization only. So that's what these bars are, and they don't, in terms of plugging into Bloodhound, you want to find the plot that gives you the true value, the consistent value, whether it's in one state or the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like what Jeremy's saying, the reason why there's an uptrend and a downtrend is just so they can get these different colored histograms. So it's just a visual effect.
Yeah. If you'd rather use time bars, feel free to do that. It's just, this is just easier, and clearer to see. The principles may not be correct, but
yeah. No, Bloodhound will work with these bars, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we have the indicator as indicator A on our crossover solver, and so next, and so we're looking for a crossover of an absolute value, which is 0. So we're going to change this from an indicator to an absolute value, and 0 is what we want. And as soon as we did that, we can see now here we're getting the outputs that we're looking for. So crosses below, we get a short output, crosses above 0, and we get a long output here. So, all right. And just for the sake of...
They're in synchronism with the particle oscillator crossovers, so you know that's good. I mean, we're right in the same time sync with them.
Yeah. All right. And I always like to name, you know, put the name. Typically, I like to put the name of the indicator on here with the solver name, just for clarity. All right. And so next we'll add this filter where we're looking for the indicator to get above a certain value to kind of filter out these whipsaw crossings right here. All right,
Okay, so, Zach, can I just sort of interrupt real quick here? Guys, if you are just joining us or whatnot, I encourage you guys to try to follow along and actually try to replicate what Zach's doing. Now, if you don't have the D9 particle oscillator installed in your system, no worries. Just maybe find an alternative. I mean, you could probably even use maybe the stochastics, or Zach, maybe you've got another.
MACD,
yeah.
Probably, would be a simple one that everybody has.
And so actually, at this point, we'd be willing to actually even pause if we need to, and try to get everybody up to speed. So just message in the in the chat if you can't get Bloodhound. First of all, if you don't know how to get Bloodhound open on the chart like we have here, and you know, just pause a bit. Well, we can certainly help you with just getting at least to this point where you have an indicator crossover solver added to your screen. So you know, again, I encourage you guys to just go ahead and try that right now and open up your charts in NinjaTrader if you haven't done so already, and try to basically mimic what you're seeing here if you can.
Jeremy, we have a good question from Anagram in there. So
yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Regarding the tick, so Anagram is asking, I'm not sure, can everybody see everybody else's questions, or is it, can you only see your own? Can someone answer that and let me know if you can see anybody else's questions? Okay, only your own. Okay, that's unfortunate. Okay, maybe I can.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, maybe I can. Oh, wait. Okay, now can you see everybody's questions, or? No. Okay. Okay. I guess we'll look up a web GoToMeeting and see if it's possible. But Anagram is asking if you can use Bloodhound with a non-tradable instrument like the tick, and set up a filter. Basically, maybe on another using say an ES. So what if I understand what you're asking, can you use say an ES chart and then look at the tick at the same time? Is that what you're asking, Anagram? Graham, sorry, Anagram. Anagram's screen handles Anagram, so I'm used to saying it Anagram. Okay, so yeah, that's entirely possible, and what you got to do, actually, Zach, why don't you bring up the setup mode real quick here? Is okay. In your ES chart, so you just open up an ES4 range bar, right? So because you're going to be trading on the ES4 range, but you want criteria coming in from the tick. So yeah, just go ahead and open that right now. Yeah. So again, you have to do this through the NinjaTrader control indicator panel. So This is a familiar panel to you guys. You just hit Control-I or right-click your chart, bring up the indicator screen, and then bring up the dialog for Bloodhound from there, which is in the settings on top right. So
Right.
yeah, so this is
the indicator panel. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you've added any indicators to a chart, this should be familiar to you. But yeah, on the top right there, hit that ellipsis button. This brings up the Bloodhound dialog, which looks like just like the one that we were working with earlier, except now you see a chart button there, and you just hit the chart button. So go ahead and and you can change this. So you can click on that and go to Instrument, and you can, if I don't know if you might not have it added. It has to be in your instrument list. But essentially, this is where you'd look up the tick, and I believe you just have to have this kind of added to your default lists or right before you can use it, or it might even be in one of these lists.
Well, and usually you have to pay extra from your broker to get the tick. So let's see. Index. No, wait. Actually, I think the tick is an index, actually. So let's just see. Okay. Yeah, so Bob just has futures. So we'll just set it to another future here. So we're looking at the ES, so let's just throw it on the YM.
I could log into IQ feed on here if you want, and
No,
you could pull up the tick.
That's okay, Bob. This will get our point across. So.
Yeah, so essentially you can add kind of any instrument you'd like, and therefore look at if you've got indicators running on your tick chart, you can analyze those indicators by just adding solvers to now this new time frame, which is in your template here.
So there you go. It shows up with your instrument and time frame. So I believe that answers your question, Anna.
Okay, so
question, by the way.
Yeah,
is anybody? Thanks for that. Is anybody? Okay, I guess Zach, you can probably get back to what you were doing before, and certainly, guys, don't be afraid to just stop us if you need us to slow down for you, so you can catch up.
Yep. All right. So go back to real-time mode here by clicking the button up top. And I'll pull this out of the way. Okay. All right. So just to recap, so our next condition is going to be looking for our indicator to cross above or below a certain value to kind of filter out these erroneous crossovers here. All right, and so when we're looking for an indicator to cross a certain value, that would be the threshold indicator. All right. So, and we'll add the indicator on here. And I believe this was 7.
Right.
And we're still looking at the same value, which is the raw trend value. Okay, so now here's where we can put in some thresholds. So, Bob, we want to set it to 0.25 or 0.2. Which threshold value?
2.5. Just something to illustrate the filtering principle. People could fiddle with it later.
Okay.
Fine tune it, what have you. But
okay.
That's what I was doing wrong before.
So yeah, since we have a 0 line, it's crossing down into negative values. All right, and so when we're at 1, we want. For some reason I can't double clicks don't work. Okay, 1, And for the short outputs, we want a value of 1 when it gets below negative 0.25. And so there we go. We can see it's starting to filter out now. So what we're seeing here is that when the indicator is above 0 line, we're getting this initial value here. So that's why we're getting all these green bars, because the indicator is above the 0 line. Oh, wait, let me set this right here. There we go. All right, and so then when the indicator is below the 0 line, that's where we're getting all of these red bars. But then when we get a crossover, you can see that's when we get the greater value here. So, and to kind of test out our various solvers, we can turn one off and show them, right? So this is just so now all we're looking at is the crossovers, and so we can see the crossovers are working valid. We can turn that one off, and then turn the threshold solver on, and there we go. Now, Bob, what's happening here? What we're going to have to do is, when we have them both on, you can see we're not getting when we get a crossover here on this bar, because the indicator hasn't gotten up to our threshold value yet. That's why we're not getting a complete, that's why we're not getting the signal. So the output is not getting up to 1 for a complete signal. All right, so if I turn the crossovers off and look at it, you see right here where the crossover occurs, we only have a partial value coming out of Bloodhound, and that's because the indicator value hasn't reached our threshold value yet. So what we're going to have to do to resolve that is we can add this crossover value on here twice, and we're going to set this one up to look back 1 bar. So what it's going to do is it's going to offset the crossovers to 1 bar. And simply by doing that, we just change the displacement. And this displacement is in the number of bars. All right, so I displaced it by 1 bar. So now we can see we're getting a signal 1 bar after the actual crossover. So you can see how the crossover output value is delayed by 1 bar. So
because
if we turn
of the filtering.
Right, because of the filtering.
Yeah. That's kind of expected, I think. That's a sacrifice.
Yeah. So now you can see when I have both of the crossover solvers turned on, now you can see we get a signal, at the crossover and 1 bar afterwards as well.
Good.
All right. So now when we add the threshold, so now you can see we're getting a greater value. So let's see, what are we getting here? 8.66. So, all right, let's debug this and find out what's going on. Okay, so we're getting a 1 second bar after. So I'm going to name this so I know that it's, let's put a 1 in there, that way I'll know it's 1 bar late. Yeah, I'll just leave the name alone. So, okay, so there we go. So now, so when I turn off the crossover solver that gives us a signal on the actual crossover, now we're getting a full signal. So the output value is getting to 1. But what happens is if I turn this on, you can see the output value gets diminished a little bit. And that's because there's 3 solvers on here. So each solver is worth 1/3, right? Because we can only get a total of 1 on the output. And so what Bloodhound does is it says, well, you have 3 solvers, so each solver is worth 1/3, right? And so when we get 1 bar past the crossover, we only have 2 solvers firing here. So we're only getting 2/3 of a value. So what we'll have to do is use a logic template, and we're going to have to AND these 2 values together. We're going to have to AND the 2 crossovers together. That way we'll get a full value of 1 and get a signal here on this second bar after the crossover. So let me illustrate. So we'll go into the logic, create a new template, and I'll just drop the solvers on here. All right, so I'm going to pull the crossovers together. Oops. All right, we're going to AND the 2 crossovers together. And of course it, oh wait, sorry, not an AND. We want an OR. So let's change this to an OR. There we go. All right.
Hey Zach,
Yes.
I'd just like to add, actually you can accomplish this as well with just 1 solver. If you click on the first one, say the indicator, yeah, just the go back to your logic one. Actually, you can edit it from there. Yeah, so go to your right there. Yeah, click on that, and then set the look back period to 2, and basically it will yeah, set that number to 2.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Right.
Yep, gotcha.
So yeah, go ahead and plug that straight into the result so you can see what that does by itself. So it's identical, as you can see.
Yeah,
so I mean, go ahead. You can set it to 3 or 4, and then basically what this is doing is it says, okay, say you're interested in the crossover, and you want to be, you want to sort of get a crossover in the last, say, 5 bars or something like that. Well, all you do is just set the look back period to a higher number. So if you want 5 bars, hit that to 5, for example. Yeah, go ahead and change that to 5, and you'll see, or 3, yeah. 35. So
It's not.
that's basically the whole chart will, yeah. So see now you can see essentially you get markings kind of whenever there was a crossover 5 bars back or less, and in fact you can now get a little fancier if you want, and you can decay the value. So try yeah, sure. And then you can decay the value over time. So you see that last one, he's got his mouse over there, yeah. So if you actually put a little value in there, yeah, 0.2. What Bloodhound's going to do now is going to kind of every bar, it's going to subtract 0.2 from the influence. So it's kind of like, you can almost think of this as like, okay, the crossover happened, but the further and further away you get from the crossover, so the weaker your signal starts to get. So it's kind of decaying it over time. And obviously, when you have the signal, when you have the same bar where it crosses over, that's a strong signal. But then as your bars progress, further and further, you can sort of weaken the signal. As the older the signal is.
Okay. Great. So I think really we probably only need three lookbacks on this. So we'll just say, Bob, that if you don't get you know, if your indicator doesn't cross your threshold value of 0.25 within 3 bars, you know, then we'll just kind of nullify it. You know, you'll have to, you know, kind of play with it and see if that's valid. If you'd like to add another bar, say if you want at least 4 bars to look back. So, all right. So let me.
I suppose when using time bars, that might be more needed, more useful.
Yeah.
Whereas with this straight line kind of plot, the fewer bars are needed, I think. But
okay, so what we're going to do is AND these together, and there we go. There's our signal. And you can see here, this one got filtered out, and that one got filtered out. So,
you can disable those oscillator arrows if you want. I just had them on there for reference to see where we were and you know what.
Okay. Yeah, and so this false little crossover got filtered out. Let's see if there's any more. Yeah, looks like we had one here. No, that didn't. Doesn't. Did it cross? Yeah, it did cross below. So, all right. Okay, so we'll move on to the next, which would be your exit signals. So what we'll do is we'll initiate another instance of Bloodhound.
Or maybe, Zach, maybe just use a new logic template. That'd be a good sort of opportunity to show how you can use multiple logic templates.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, so we'll go back into real-time mode here.
So what I'm talking about is, folks, you can actually we've got one logic template in there describing the entries, and you can just go to the logic tab, hit the new button. So he's just going to describe it as entries there, and if you hit the new button, you get a new logic template, and you can define one for exits. And so once you've got them both defined, you see that drop down on the top of your chart. You can now just swap between them as you're trading. And those of you that are kind of developers and know how to write strategies and whatnot, there's actually an example as well on the website showing how to utilize, you know, 2 logic templates, one for entries, one for exits, basically to create a full automated trading system.
Yeah. So there's the entries, and we don't have the exits set up, but just to illustrate that you can switch back and forth. All right. So let's add the correct values for the exits here. All right, so what we want to do is essentially just need to copy this threshold value solver. So let me rename this one. So we'll call this the D9 entry. And this one, I'll call it the D9 exit. Okay, so I don't want that solver. We want the D9 exit. And I still haven't set the threshold values correctly. So, sorry, I'm kind of jumping around here. Okay, so we want our exit threshold values up here at 0.9, or I'm sorry, 0.5. 0.5 of the indicator. All right, and just look to see if we get any signals here. Hey, Bob, does it ever get up to 0.5?
Those were just the default values. It looks like you have to come down to 0.4 or something lower.
Yeah, looks.
But what I was going to do on the exit was have it cross over the extreme level and then come back under.
Yeah, maybe because you're using a Renko bar and it's stepping, that the indicator can never penetrate 0.5. Maybe if you had a tick bar or a timed bar where there's a huge movement, yeah, then you might get to 0.5. So, well, how about if we just change this? Change our bar type.
Actually, Zach, it looks pretty good for just crossing back down over that 0.25 line. I mean, just kind of glancing at the chart. So I mean, it looks like if you just set up a crossover, kind of going the opposite direction, that could be a decent exit signal right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would come real close to the opposite entry. Maybe a bar ahead. I guess the way this oscillator saturates and then goes sideways in a trend, it kind of facilitates that cross back below as opposed to using another level.
And let's see. Oh, that's not what I was looking for. Let's see. Let's just simply do another crossover. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a crossover situation. So when the indicator comes above 0.25 and then it crosses down, so we're looking for this cross down situation. So all right, and remember to set my period correct. All right, we're looking at the raw trend. And so for this, I'm going to constrain this solver so that it only gives us a short. Because I don't want to get a signal when it's crossing above it. I only want a signal when it's crossing down below it. All right, so we're looking for a crossing of an absolute value, 0.25. And And there we go. When it crosses, that one's crossing below. It almost looks like it's crossing the 0 line at the same time. So, but you can see the signal that is actually occurring on the bar where it's crossing the 0 line. So we know that it's actually the crossing always occurs one bar back, right? So
those look like pretty nice looking entries as well.
All right, so we have the exit longs, and we can just copy this and modify it a little bit for the shorts. Okay, short, and we'll constrain this for longs only. And this time we're looking for a crossing at -2.5. All right, so now we'll have to add that solver on there. And since you can only plug one solver into the result node at a time, and since we have two solvers that can both give us a signal, we'll have to OR them together. All right, because we're only going to get a signal from one solver at a time, so we have to use the OR logic node. All right, there we go. So there's the exits, and of course on here it looks perfect because you're exiting right after the trend move.
Yep. Don't break the bank with that one, huh?
Yeah. All right. So there's the entries. Yep. So the entries are occurring right after the exits. Yeah. So I wonder, let's just kind of tweak this for a little bit. Let's say we want to try and see if we can get an entry one bar sooner by adjusting our threshold value. You know, so maybe 0.25 is too high. Maybe we can filter out. Let's see if we can find some, what would be some false crossovers. Let's see. Actually, I think there were some at the beginning of the chart. Yeah, here we go. All right. So we'll see if we can still get an entry on this bar, but not get an entry on this bar here.
Be sure to save this before we're finished.
Okay. Well, we can, yeah, save it anytime. Just click on save.
Okay.
So, all right. Now, you can see we're starting to get a lot of solvers here. So, you know, as your system gets complex, what you can do is we know that the threshold solver we want to modify is in the entry logic tab. So we can just go to the entry logic tab and find the threshold solver that we're using, and we can just modify it. So you have to select it, and then it'll show up over here on the right. And then we can just modify the solver values there. So maybe 1.5. Let's see what happens there. Let's see. Nope, that gave us a value, or that gave us a signal. So maybe 0.2. Well, yeah, it looks like 0.2 is pretty good. Let's see. All right, so that gave us an entry as one bar sooner. Let's just see if it's going to give us a long here. And it didn't. All right. Well, one thing we can also adjust is you can see the green line is set to 0.8. And there we go. Oh. And so we can adjust our signal threshold values, and we can raise them up to 0.9. So, all right. So what that means is when Bloodhound has an output of 0.9, that's when we get a signal. So, yeah. So there we go. Oh, it also we lost our earlier short entry here. So let me go and adjust that threshold again.
Does the compare ratio need to be checked?
No, not for this system. No.
Does it hurt having it checked in the
No,
space?
typically it won't.
Okay.
Typically it won't. And so what that does is the short value has to be 1.5 times greater than our long values. But you can see that when we have short values, there are no long values. Okay. So yeah, so it's not going to do anything here.
I just thought maybe a divide by 0 or something might throw it off.
So, well, we did get an earlier signal here, but not quite here. And I'm kind of concerned that if I keep lowering this threshold value that, we're getting awful close to this false. So we might just have to leave it there, just to give us a little safety margin.
Okay, I just want to ask the audience there, if any of you have any time have a question, if you have maybe just a trading, maybe a system idea that you'd like to see us demo, just raise your hand right now, and we can certainly give it a shot.
All right. So, Bob, is there anything else you'd like to add to this? I think we pretty much covered it. It's a fairly
that's pretty good on the system. The next step that I had on the list, crossover and the threshold, was the actual implementation of a Bloodhound strategy to an actually automated strategy that say could work with
have it add the trading. Yeah, we weren't planning on getting into that advanced of a subject. We're kind of hoping to keep it just basic and simple for most people. Yeah, that definitely would be a good class to have as well. The next class.
Time for another subject for another session.
So,
but Bob, I can sort of direct you to the website. We have some examples, some example code up there.
Okay.
And if you just go actually to the Shark Indicators website and go to documentation, and if you scroll down kind of to the very, very bottom of the contents there, you'll see we have some example strategy codes that you can download, and it just gives you a good example of how to plug in Bloodhound to make basically a full automated strategy. And the one that I mentioned there that you'd probably be interested in, because you've got these exit and entry signals, is the second strategy. So it's strategy example number 2. And yeah, thanks, Zach. So let's just wait for that to go up. But yeah, I just want to point this out to you. If for those of you that are savvy enough in the attendees there to know a little bit about coding and stuff, and have actually tried to do a strategy in NinjaTrader, Bloodhound will accelerate your development cycle tremendously. So you could create these kind of entry and exit signals on the fly and visually like so, and then using this very small piece of code, it's most of it's just shell, but there's really only like 3 or 4 lines that are actually do something. So if you go to the very bottom on the right hand side there.
So just in case anybody hasn't seen this, so here's the Bloodhound documentation, and you can see on the right here we have the various sections, and then down here we have the solvers, and we have each solver listed out here, and there's a pretty dry explanation of each one, but then there's examples below to help explain better how to use the solver. And then down at the very bottom, all right. Yeah. So which one do you want to show, Jeremy?
Number 2.
Number 2. Okay.
Yeah. So again, don't worry if this doesn't mean much to you guys if you're not familiar with writing strategies. But those of you that are, this particular one is interesting because we've got. We have to probably. The code doesn't seem to render nicely in Internet Explorer. I forgot to mention that. Oh. But basically, this particular example shows the. That's okay, Zach. You can maybe just scroll down there to the bottom. I just want to show the file. But this one will actually allow you to select the entry and exit logic, and basically plug those both in. And your strategy will run using basically the exit and entry logic that you have outlined in your strategy. So as a disclaimer, I mean, you certainly shouldn't attempt this unless you kind of have a little bit of experience with developing strategies. So it's a little tricky when it comes to managing the trade using computer code. But those of you that have, by all means, this is a fantastic way to get to automated strategy very quickly using Bloodhound, and also the ability to change it up really quickly just by altering your entry and exit logic. So and these are fully back testable too if you want to do that.
And great, that sure simplifies things and speeds them up.
Yeah, and so what this code will give you is it'll give you an interface for Bloodhound, specifically for Bloodhound, and so it'll allow you to select your logic templates and stuff. So just like, right, so you can select your entry logic template, which is the same template up here, and it allows you to select an exit logic template. So. All right. Well, I guess if we don't have any other questions, let me look through the question list here and see if somebody else would like some other examples.
And while Zach is doing that, let me just explain. Like Stuart asks, what level of programming experience is needed to use Bloodhound? The answer is you don't need any. However, Bloodhound does use some sort of mathematical logic, and so therefore if you have a programming background, it'll definitely help, but you certainly don't need it. And if you don't worry about it. We're here to help you and basically handhold you through to understand how to piece these things together. If you need a one-on-one session with us or need some one-on-one training, you got some ideas that you want to see implemented in Bloodhound, no problem. Just shoot me an email either through the contact support contact section on the website. And actually, Zach, maybe I'll just steal the presentation for a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I can get to the websites and show you guys what I'm talking about here. Okay, so show my screen here. Let's show. Okay, so right now we've got an empty monitor. And I'm trying to get my web browser there. Sorry, guys. Okay. Okay, so on our website, we have a variety of different resources here. So first of all, everything's under support that you need. the first line of defense here is the support questions on the forum, and Zach does a very good job of just sort of perusing these on a daily basis and going through and answering questions. And you can see he's actually he'll go in and articulate beautiful examples. Let me see if I can find one here.
There probably got to be some older ones. It's been quite a while since I've been asked, how to demonstrate some how-tos.
Yeah, so he's, in some of these he'll actually go in and do up screenshots and show you kind of step by step what you're asking. And certainly, I encourage you, if you just have a question, you can just search in there and see if it's already been answered. But what else we have available here is a documentation section, and if you haven't already seen this quick start video, I definitely recommend it. But we also have some other videos, and as Zach has sort of shown you this before, so on the right hand side we got these video tutorials that we're working on, and this is designed to be kind of a step-by-step video. Like each video is maybe about 15 minutes long, and you can take a look at those, and they just go up over some very basic concepts, and the idea is when you've done the entire series, which is not up, not all of them are up yet, but and we're just constantly updating this. But the idea is when you're done the entire series, you should be fairly proficient with Bloodhound and able to use it. We also are going to be doing these tips and tricks video series. So I just clicked the tips and tricks section there, and we've got one up there right now with it was I believe a question from I don't remember who exactly. Somebody asked a question on how do I work with a slope of the ADX, because as you know, the ADX is a kind of a it's not a directional indicator, and when the ADX slope is rising, that just means there's a trend happening in some direction. You just don't know which way the direction is, but it's a good indicator of strength of your trend. So because it's sort of direction agnostic, right? How do we deal with that? So Zach has a great example there. And then lastly, if you go to the webinars section here, which some of you may have gone to sign up, we have these workshops that we're just going to be doing weekly, just like this. You're welcome to ask any questions you want. Submit your questions beforehand, just like Bob did. That's how we put them on the panelists here. So Bob submitted to us some systems and some ideas he wanted to see implemented. So that's why we have him as a guest. Most certainly, if you want to be up here as well, or if you don't like the spotlight, no problem. We'll just we can just implement it, something that you like to see. We'll do it live for you. And then on the right-hand side here, we're going to have all the previously recorded workshops. So as you know, this is the very first one, and I'm going to put them all up here. So you can get to that again to Learn Bloodhound through webinars. And then finally, if you have a question that maybe you want to keep confidential, or you want to schedule a one-on-one session with one of us to help you out, this is available not only to existing customers, but anybody that's evaluating the software as well. No problem. Just go to the support inquiry page that's on the contact us here. Just type kind of what you're looking for, and fill in your name and email, and so that we can contact you, and we'll schedule it. We can schedule a one-on-one. So we'll be happy to do all those for you. And that support is unlimited. You can have it as long as you want. And our goal is to basically train you up so that you know how to use Bloodhound and you're proficient with it, to say the level that Zach is right now. That you can just start spitting out systems like no tomorrow. So that's the end goal, is to get you guys as productive as possible. All right, thanks Anna for the kind comments. JJL, okay, so JJL's got a question here.
Yeah.
Let me just take a look at it. So Zach, maybe do you want to do this on your computer, or do you want to keep doing it on Bob's?
No, I think it'd be easier if I did it on my computer. That way there's no lag, because there's a little bit of lag with Bob's computer.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and share your desktop, and we can read JJL's question here.
Yeah, so he's wanting a demo of a simple SMA crossover with a stochastics system. So JJL, could you, if you have a mic, we can have you explain what how you want to implement the stochastics into a crossover. I would assume, well, because you mentioned an SMA crossover, and then you mentioned a stochastic system. So if you have a mic, we could have you, verbally explain your system, or if you could type it in. No mic today. All right. Well, JJ, if you could give us a little more explanation. You can actually, I'm not sure, you guys should also have a chat window as well that you can type into. And everybody should be able to see everybody's chat. So
it looks like he's actually just looking for a
okay, I'll just mix something up.
Yeah, he's looking for an SMA cross. SMA cross, I think probably a stochastics filter. I think that's probably what he's looking for. So he's got an 821 crossover.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks JJ for the suggestion. It's fantastic. We're if any of you other guys as well that have any ideas that you want to throw at us, by all means. And I believe Zach how much time do you got left, approximately?
Let's see. I have about 40 minutes. Let's see. I'm trying to.
Okay. Yeah. So we'll go all the way to the end and go as long as we can until Zach's got to take off.
Yeah.
But certainly we can pick up. Okay. Cool. So we can certainly pick up anything that we leave off today for next week.
All right. So I'm just gonna get my indicators on here as quick as I can, and so we'll do something pretty similar to what we did in the demo, and then we'll just add a stochastics as a filter to this. So 30. And I already have, I was playing around earlier, so I already have some solvers on my Bloodhound template. That's why I've got signals going right now. So, all right, and then let me add the stochastics. And all right. So let me delete these solvers. All right, so the first thing we'll build is the crossover. And set up my indicators. So I think, typically you probably want to put the fast SMA in indicator A. Typically the faster moving indicator is usually your entry or exit indicator. And that's typically what you're going to want in indicator A. So let me just change the period. Change this one to 30 period. Okay, so there we go. So the white line is the 10 SMA, right? So we get a long, and we get a short here, and a long. All right. And so next,
just a quick interruption, Zach. Actually, JJL wanted an 821 crossover, so you switch the parameters. I'm sorry about that.
Easy. So, yeah, Jerry, if you want to keep an eye on the questions, and because I'm pretty focused on looking at Bloodhound here. So is it 821? All right, let me change my indicators on the chart.
Now, it's not necessary to actually change the indicators on the chart for Bloodhound to work. We're just doing this just to show you visually what the Bloodhound is actually giving you the correct signals. But certainly for Bloodhound to actually work, it doesn't have to be done.
Yeah, you don't have to have the indicators on the chart, but obviously when you're building your system, you need to have the indicators on your chart so you can visually compare what Bloodhound is doing to your indicators. All right. So let's see, what kind of filter? I'll do a couple of filters here. Right now, I'll just do a simple slope filter. So what that'll do is, if the stochastic is so for this long here, this long crossover, if the stochastic is moving up on this long crossover, we'll get the signal. But if the stochastic is moving down with a long signal, it'll filter it out. So, all right, add the stochastic on here. All right, so let's see if there's any crossing that got filtered out here. Well, it looks like these moving averages sync up with the stochastic pretty good, so there's no filtering. Oh, let me speed up the stochastic. All right, so I matched Bloodhound's stochastic settings to what I have on the chart now. And okay, so here we go. So now we're getting some filtering. So, all right, so we had a short here, and it filtered it out because the stochastic is moving up. So what I could do is I'll turn the crossover. Yeah, so we can see the stochastic is moving up, so we had a long output on Bloodhound. If I turn that stochastic off and turn the crossover with the short, so the two cancel each other out. Well, they didn't cancel each other out, but yeah, so we can see we get a long output here is actually coming from the stochastic, and this single short right here is coming from the crossover. That's all right. So let me add another type of filter. So I'm just going to delete this solver so I don't have to use the logic template, just to keep it simple right now. And I'm going to use a threshold. All right, so with this threshold, I can look for when the stochastic is in the overbought area and the oversold area. Okay, so what I'm doing here with this threshold is the stochastic has minimum and maximum values. So the minimum value for the stochastic is 0, and the maximum is 100. So is typically you're going to set that up as your maximum value, and D is typically going to be set up as your minimum value. And so then B and C are our threshold values. So what I'm looking for is, let's see, how do I want to set this up? Yeah, all right. So right here, we'll get a signal here. So we have so the crossover. So you can see we'll get a long signal here on the crossover, and the stochastic is in the overbought area, and so we'll use the stochastic so that we have to have an overbought condition with the crossover crossing up in order to get a signal. So we want a long output when stochastic is in the overbought area above 80. So we want a value of 1 out when it's at 100 and a value of 1 out when it's at 80. And let me oh, I don't have the right indicator in here. All right, so with only the threshold solver on here, let me just put the name of the indicator we're using. So you can see that now when the stochastic is in the overbought condition, we're getting a long output here. And so when we turn both of them on, so now we get a long signal when we get across above when we're overbought. And we got a signal here. And you can see this one got filtered out. So this short cross down got filtered out because the stochastic was not within the oversold area here. Yep, so another long. And these, so these all got filtered out. So, this one was close. So we probably could, yeah, we could actually turn this into a signal if we wanted to by adjusting the crossover's look back. So this is what we showed on Bob's screen earlier, is the look back period. Set that to 2. And there we go. And then we got this signal here occurring. So, and what we can see down here in Bloodhound's output is we can see, you know, this solid, you know, range of bars here. This is occurring because of the stochastics. You can see how the values are going up and down in accordance with the stochastics. And then our signals are triggering when we're getting the crossover. So let's see if I can think of any other kind of filters here off the top of my head. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'll demonstrate using the inflection as a filter as well. So the inflection, what that's going to do is that will pick out these reversal points right here. So an inflection would detect, you know, this reversal point, this one here, this one, every time the indicator changes direction from up to down and down to up.
Hey, actually, Zach, Deep is asking if we can add the MACD to this. So, Deep, is there a particular part of the MACD you want to look at? You want to look at the histogram or the MACD diff, or the smooth or the average value?
All right. Well, I guess while we're waiting for Deep to clarify what exactly you like to look at, I'll just kind of illustrate the inflection. So you can see here we got a short on this inflection point of the stochastic, and on this inflection point we got a long because the direction changed to going up, and then it changed back down to going down. Of course, we're going to get a lot of whipsaw with this fast-moving stochastic. Then if I put it together with the crossover, and let's see here, what is... Maybe I just need to add an extra look back. Oh, no, that's right. So let me turn off the crossovers. That's right. So right now the inflection indicator is set to get us a short when the crossover is actually going long. So let me just kind of scan through the chart. Here we go. So here's a signal. So stochastic turned up, and we barely got a crossover to the upside on this at this point right there. Oh, all right, so here we go. All right, so the stochastic came down, then it moved up for just one bar, and then it dropped back down along with the cross down. All right, so did we get a clarification on what Deep would like to see? We had the MACD this. Well, all right. I guess I'll just
doesn't look like that, but
MACD then.
Tim actually has a question as well. If we want to maybe try that, because it looks like Deep. If you have more specific ideas of the MACD, we can certainly add that. But it's going to behave very similar to what we can do. Basically, the MACD is just being another indicator. We can add threshold, examine the thresholds of it, or we can see the slope of it. This kind of various things that we can do with it. But Tim, I don't suppose you have a mic. You've got a question there, and perhaps you could maybe explain the question to everyone in the room.
I'm not seeing Tim's. Oh, there it is. Sorry,
okay, yeah,
Tim.
No, Mike, no problem. Certainly, guys, if you want to, if you're going to attend the next webinar, feel free to bring a mic if you want. It's certainly not an issue if you don't have one. But we won't have any problem with you guys speaking in the room and asking your questions out loud. It's not an issue with us at all. So let's see if we can go over Tim's question here. So he's asking, instead of using crossovers, could Bloodhound be used for entry with the trend on pullbacks to 30 MA with confirmation of the ADX greater than 20? So I guess we could show the confirmation of ADX greater than 20. That's Zach. You can probably go into that right away, but maybe Tim, while he's doing that, can you sort of elaborate a little bit more on what you mean by pullback? Do you mean you want the price to go near the 30 MA, or bounce away from it, or head towards it? Can you sort of clarify a little bit more what you're looking for there? Like maybe you could articulate, say, for the long side, for example, do you want the price to be bouncing south of the MA or bouncing, like maybe just try describing to us one side of the trade versus the long side, and then we can sort of extrapolate from there what the short side would look like.
Well, I'm going to assume what he means by a pullback is like this retracement into the 30 SMA. Just before 12. Oh, all right. So we're going back to the midnight here. So I'm assuming a pullback like this, where price kind of hits and bounces off of a moving average, or something like this. Yeah, so that would use the support resistance solver for something like that. And also you're wanting the ADX to be above 20. So I have the 20 here on this grayish purple line. All right, so let me see if I can whip that out real quick. All right, so we're not dealing with a crossover, we're just dealing with a pullback. So I'm going to get rid of these solvers. And let's see, let me do the ADX first. So that one's going to be a simple threshold solver. And I'm just going to use the default values here. All right. So we're looking for, we just simply want a value greater than 20. All right, so there we go. When we're below the 20 line, no signal. When we're above it, we get a signal here. Simple enough. And all right, so the next step, let's see. So we're just looking for pullback to the to the SMA. Okay. So let's add support and resistance solver. And we're going to use an indicator. So essentially, these three options here, well, yeah, so this, use a channel. This will allow you to use the regression channel. And then for any of your indicators, then we just need to set this to true. And you can see then it modifies this input window here to allow you to select an indicator now. So if I turn this back off, you can see that selection of an indicator goes away. So I'll turn this on. All right, we'll plug the ADX into here. Oh, I'm sorry, not the ADX, the SMA. And we're looking at an SMA 30. And when we're looking for a pullback to a support resistance line, we're looking, that type of condition would be using tailwind mode. And let me get this set up correctly. And for this example, I'm going to set it to ticks. Ticks are usually a little easier to understand. So I want to look for this price to pull back within to a few ticks. I'm just going to have to play with the settings here for a little bit to kind of see if it gives me what I want. And it's also a good idea to turn off this must agree with swing trend. So what this does is this creates a filter using the SI swing indicator, and so what that indicator is trying to do is it's using swing points, these high and low points down to from high point to low point. It's using the swing indicator to determine what the current trend is of the price. And so this filter here uses that indicator to determine what the trend of the current price is. So it can be a handy filter, but when you're just trying to set this solver up, it's best just to turn this off. So that way you're seeing all the results of the solver. So we can see that here price came down to the SMA, and we've got a signal here. And let me try and see why we're not getting one there. That's why. I think that's set way too low. Jeremy, are you seeing something I'm overlooking here?
Pardon me, Zach. I'm actually trying to set up something for JJ's other question about the market analyzer. Do you want to take a few seconds with this and maybe put in the back burner? I'll see if I can address JJ's other question about using the market analyzer in the meantime. Is that okay with you? Or
okay. Yeah. So are you going to take over presenting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, folks, to jump around on you guys. We missed this one question that JJ asked, and let me see if I can steal the screen. I think I can. Okay. All right. Okay, so I am just putting together a example of how to use the market analyzer. Unfortunately, my charts are kind of sparse right now. Let me see if I can disconnect here. I'm just going to try to get some data into my charts because it's been a little while since I opened up the ES chart. And let's see if I can get some real-time data in here. Okay, so I've got the ES 1 minute and the CL 1 minute. So the question that JJ was asking is, can we use Bloodhound in the market analyzer? So just sort of set up a bunch of filters, and most certainly you can. And I just want to show you how that's done. Okay, so I've just for illustrative purposes, I'm putting these two charts up here, and bear with me. I'm sort of doing this on the fly, so this is kind of and to be perfectly honest, I don't have the I haven't used the market analyzer that much, but I was able to just quickly figure out how to put this together. So I'm just going to put up the simple 1030 example again. Oops, there we go. So 1030, and actually, Zach, just let me know when you're ready. I'm going to mute you for now, just so that I don't get the clicking in the background there. Okay, so 1030. Okay, so that's the 1030 cross on the on both instruments there, and what is I've basically just added the 1030 cross to the market analyzer using the Bloodhound system. So I've got Bloodhound here configured for a 1030 cross. Okay, so as you can see, when this was white line crossed below the thick blue line, we got a red signal there. And how do I add that to this? Well, you just go to columns, okay, and then under columns, what I've done is I've just scrolled down to find indicator. So once I've got indicator selected, I hit new, and I'll just duplicate what I have up here. And on this right-hand pane, now I just go to the indicator here, okay, and I select Bloodhound, which is right there, okay, and immediately I've got this. I can now select the template. So once you're happy with your Bloodhound template, and so for example, I've got the 1030 cross defined here. I'm happy with it. I've saved it, and now I just go here, click this ellipsis button, and now I can go to File, Open, or just File, and you'll see that the list of the recently used ones that you've defined earlier just show up here. So I just select 1030 cross. That's what I was using, and as you can see, it's just set up with the indicator crossover with 10 and 30 there, just like we've seen earlier. Hit OK, and then two things have to be set. One, an alert, because presumably you're using this market analyzer, so you can take a look at the alerts as they come in, and you're maybe scanning a bunch of different instruments, and you got one system, and you want just an alert when you got a condition firing. So you would just set the alert here, okay, and basically remember with Bloodhound, anything that is like a 1 is a strong signal, okay. So I'm just going to look for an alert when I have a 1 coming out from Bloodhound. Okay, so I've basically I've set the condition to alert to 1, and so presumably when I get a signal in one direction, I'll have an alert. So now you have to select which plot to use, and if you set this drop down, basically you have two choices. You got the short side and the long side. So if you want to look at the long side, you just select long. Oh, pardon me. And this sort of comes with, I guess, using it. But to do the short side, you have to create another one, like I've done here. So I've got actually the short side already defined up here. But just make sure that your alert is not 1, but now -1. Okay, so I guess this is the only tricky thing here, is just make sure that you're looking for -1 on the alert side. This is because the confidence values, when they're plotted on Bloodhound on the chart, they go from +1 to -1. Okay, so you want the alert, again, for the short side only to be -1. Okay, so let me just double check that, make sure I've got there. So is less than or equal to -1. Okay, and of course you want to choose the short plot for the second column here. And lastly, you know, what's very useful is changing the name, because what happens is the name. If for example, if I go back to this one, NinjaTrader just sets the name to some default value and sort of leaves it there before after you have the even after you have the chance to configure it. So the name is kind of meaningless. So I would name it something like long signal, or BH long signal, or short signal, just to keep your columns kind of clean. All right. Okay, so I'm going to remove this one because we only really need 2 of them there. And once I hit OK, now you can see the Bloodhound short and long signals are showing up in the columns, and presumably as soon as these values fire off a trade signal in either direction, you'll see this value updates. But as you can see, because there's no crossovers happening on either side here, they're all 0. So let me see if I can quickly induce a crossover to happen on one of the markets here. So I'm going to switch over to simulated data feed. Okay, so appears we have actually a crossover on the 1 minute, but we're not seeing it on this instrument here. So let me just take a quick look at it. And just to apologize, folks, I'm not super familiar with the market analyzer, and perhaps I've just got the wrong time frame up there. Actually, I think what I'll do at this point, so I've just shown you just how to add the columns to the market analyzer. I'm just going to investigate to see why that signal did not show up on the long side for the CL 612. I suspect it's just because maybe I've got the wrong time frame in there. But I'm going to pass the torch back to Zach real quick here and see if we can just give me a few minutes here to work this out.
All right, let me share my screen. Jeremy, can you? There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I think you guys are looking at my screen now. So, all right. So what I found, what happened was I had my indicator still set to a period of 21 from the previous example I was doing. So I changed it back to 30. So now it's matching what's set into Bloodhound. And so now you can see that when price is coming, approaching the SMA, we're getting a long signal here. So let me bring up, well, actually, let me just kind of glide through here. So here's prices. So I have it set up right now. If price gets within 5 ticks of the 30 SMA, that's when we're going to get values here. All right. So then price comes below the 30 SMA, and it comes back up, and we get a short here, and we get another short. The reason why we didn't get a short here is because price bounced off of it, and that's so the closing price here of this bar is greater than 5 points away from the SMA. But then as price moved back up, it came within 5 points of the SMA. And so now we just need to turn on the ADX threshold. All right. So I'll turn it on, and there we go. There's our filters. So we can see this got filtered out. So this short output is going to be coming from, it'll be coming from the price approaching the SMA from the bottom. So this would give us a short output here from the support resistance solver. So I'll turn off the ADX, and there we go. There's our short signal. And when I turn on the ADX, you can see the ADX is below this 20 line here, and so the ADX filtered it out. Actually, you know what? We need to set up, since we're using the ADX as a permissive to go long and short above the 20, we need to set it up that way actually. So let's see. So there we go. So we just added the short values here. So, but once again, the ADX was below 20, so that's why we didn't get the short right here. And so here we go. Here's the short ADX. Price broke below the SMA, and it came back up to the SMA and bounced off of it, And we got a short. We got a short again. So let me look at the questions, and I think that answered Tim's question. So, all right, great. Thanks, Tim, for replying back there. So, and yeah, Jeremy, I need to get ready to go here. So I don't really want to jump into something else. So,
Okay, no problem.
Jeremy, would you like to take over?
I think actually I'm gonna wrap it up, and it looks like we've actually got. I'm looking through the questions here, and I think we're pretty good for today. That's about 2 hours of recording time. So I think what I'll do is wrap it up, and the market analyzer, I'm going to maybe do more thorough, I guess, more thorough example for next week on that. Certainly, just remind me of doing that. But those of you that have unanswered questions, again, you can just join us at the same time next week. Also, email us your questions as well. Like Phil had a bunch of questions that I think would be a good project to go for next week. We'll pour through his stuff. But any of you guys that want to join in and participate and use your mic, no problem at all. Again, we're just running an sort of an informal workshop here, so nothing here is sort of pre-planned. It's just sort of whatever you guys want to see, we'll perform for you. And those of you that need one-on-one training, that's not an issue as well. You can just contact us through that support form, or that support form that you saw earlier on the website, or just email myself or Zach. That's Zach White at sharkindicators.com, and Jeremy Tang at sharkindicators.com. So let me just type those in the chat here. And I want to mention one more thing. We have a promotion that was just running from the last webinar that we did with the Online Trader Central group, and I thought it'd be fair just to offer that actually to all you users that have been evaluating Bloodhound for some time now. But basically, if you use the coupon code OTC, that's OTC, lowercase, during checkout, it's good for a 10% discount, which amounts to $50. And that's good until May 15th. So May 15th is basically the last day of that sale there, and certainly feel free to use it. And if those of you that are learning Bloodhound and you're hitting any stumbling blocks, I mean, just don't hesitate to set up a meeting between Zach and I, or attend the next Bloodhound webinar, and we'll try to work through what you want to try to accomplish with Bloodhound, and see if we can get up your level of proficiency with using this system.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to add, back when you were kind of showing the support forums, I think if you look back on the third page, if you go back towards the beginning of April, maybe late March, there some people were asking how to do certain conditions, just like what we were showing you today. And I did some pretty lengthy, screenshots of each step by step, and those are up on the support forum. And I'd be glad to do that for you guys as well. Although now we're starting to implementing videos, so I'll probably start, doing those examples by videos, and just hosting them up on YouTube, and also. Some really good ones we'll add to our tips and tricks section as well. So, and something else in regarding to these training workshops, Jeremy and I have been kind of thinking about offering them on the weekends, but we would have to work out some logistical, personal timing issues for that to happen. But if there's a high enough demand for it, we will definitely try and get some training, some of these workshops happening on the weekend. And I don't know if any of you are in Australia, but that might help you guys out as well. So just So if any of you really would like to see some of these on the weekend, yeah, please fire us an email stating that. And if we get a high enough demand, we'll try and work out our personal schedule to work on the weekends as well. So, all right.
And yeah, one last shout out to Bob. Thanks very much for volunteering today to be on sort of our side of the panel, and letting us use your computer to show everybody else your trading system. So again, if you want to participate, say in Bob's capacity, just shoot us an email and we'll feature you on the next webinar.
All right. Well, thank you guys. So I think this is a pretty good 2-hour session here. So, and next week we can make it 2 hours again if needed. So, all right. I guess that's it for me.
Yep. Thanks a lot, folks.
All right. Thank you, guys.